Whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Who here knows how to change their own oil? Okay, I like that. It's interesting, especially considering that we have 840 cars per capita, which is per 1,000 people in California. So how many, like, in relation, not that many people here actually know how to properly maintain a vehicle. That's just... Okay, first place where to start to check and change your oil, what you want to do is you want to find the dipstick in your car. On newer cars, there isn't a dipstick, and it's actually checked electronically. But what you want to do is you want to locate the dipstick. It has a usually bright yellow or orange handle. It can be plastic or metal. And to check your oil properly, what you want to do is you want to run your car for about 5 minutes. So the easiest place to do this is at a gas station. You drive to the gas station, you get out your pop your hood, and you find your little dipstick, and you pull it out, and then you wipe it off with a paper towel. This is so that you get a clean datum to pretty much measure your oil with. So you clean it, and you put your dipstick back in, you pull it back out. You want to hold it with a rag because it is still oily, and it's hot because your engine was just running. And there's 2 dots, you can check right here, where it's either full or below full or a place in the middle. In the middle's fine, but if it gets too dark or gritty, you want to change it even if it's at a proper level. If it's too low, you want to add the correct amount of oil to get back to a good point. Now, one problem with changing oil that's extremely difficult is you have to get under your car. And if you have a car that's dropped to the ground like a Honda Civic or something, you really need to get a floor jack or something like that. It is recommended by Steve Lang in 2012. He really called out do-it-yourselfers for using screw jacks to lift up their cars, since those actually aren't properly, those aren't supposed to take that much weight of your engine, just one side of your car for changing a tire. Also, when you're going under your car, you want to put a cinder block or some pieces of wood under part of the frame so that if something does happen, it's a hydraulic jack, are problems that if it falls, there's something between you and the car. Back to changing your oil. Now, under your engine, there's an oil pan. In this oil pan, there's just one little bolt on the bottom. It's pretty big. It's usually 5/8, 16 millimeter. And what you want is you want to loosen it first with the socket, and then you want to undo it by hand. You want an oil pan underneath it. However, you don't have to go out and buy a super expensive oil pan. This is the kind of oil pan I use. So when you unscrew it, there's oil going to start coming out. Just don't worry about getting dirty, because you're going to get more dirty if you drop the bolt into the oil pan. So you just want to take it out. It's going to run down your arm a little bit, and then you're fine with that. So another part is finding the filter. When you're under the car, it's on the back side of the engine, and it can be either tilted, such as this one, or it's going to be perpendicular to the side of your engine. It's usually brightly colored, and it looks newer than everything else in the car since they get replaced pretty regularly. However, when you take these off, mechanics tighten these with a special wrench. And so if you're going to do this yourself, you don't have the ability to loosen it with that same wrench. It's really big like this. So what you want to do, if it's too tight to take off by hand, is you want to take a screwdriver and actually, with a hammer, and hammer it through your filter. It's an old filter, you're not going to worry about it. And you want to use that torque to loosen the first part of the filter, and then you take it out and just unscrew it. Then just put it on the ground and take your other filter. When you can find filters, it is important that you get the correct filter for your oil and car. That might seem a little daunting, but what you can do is simply call any auto place. You can look it up online or go to an auto place, tell them your car and year, and they will give you pretty much everything. They'll tell you what type of oil you'll have, how much oil you need to put in your car, and what kind of filter you should use to do it. When you get your oil and filter from the auto place, it's much cheaper than getting anywhere else. I looked up online where I should get my oil and filter is, like where I should get it at, and I could get my oil and filter for under like $25, and I called Rizzoli's Auto Place in town, Certified Auto Parts, and other parts like auto repair, and places like that, and their oil changes were from $50 to $60. So this is extremely cheaper than going to a mechanic to get your oil changed. Back to the filter. Anyways, when you get your new filter, to put it back on, you want to get some new oil, dip your finger in it, and lube up the threads and the actual seal of the filter. This is so that you get a nice seal and it's just begins to really clean your car. So the next part is refilling the engine. This might seem a little daunting, but if you go to an auto parts store, they'll tell you how much oil you should get and how big your engine is. I have a 3.7 quart engine for my Honda Civic, but you usually just buy 4. When you're refilling your engine, you can either use a funnel, you can do it by hand, or you can actually just take an old water bottle and cut off the back, and then you just put it there, and it works as a nice funnel for you. When refilling your oil, one thing you do not want to do is overfill. This can ruin your crankshaft. So again, for do-it-yourselfers, this is also daunting. So about a half a quart away from your final maximum engine size, you want to start checking your dipstick again to see how full your engine is. So thank you very much. If you guys ever have any questions on changing oil, or if you guys just want to talk to me about the pros and cons of changing your oil versus a mechanic changing your oil, I'd love to talk to you about that. I did a lot of research for this, and I've done a lot of work on cars with my dad, so thank you very much.